Friends. The first thing I need to do is turn off the music. Yes. So it's been a few weeks, it's been a few months since I've been up in here, have been talking stuff out with you or with anybody that decides to be on the show. And so continue to throw that support. I know that during this off season, it was a little long. I was having to deal with some how do I put this? Personal stuff. And so, but I'm super pumped to be back on Under the Hat with you all. And so just know that, this last season was interesting in the sense of there's a lot of learning for those that are podcasters that do listen. I do know that there's a few of you that do that. There's a lot of learning, right? A lot of like, how do I grow? Not just with the show, but all the back end stuff. And so I'm just super excited and grateful to still be running the show. Still being present on social. I'm trying to get a little bit better about that. As you know, life gets crazy. We have jobs, we have family, stuff like that. But again, I'm super pumped to be here. And so just know that this season, there's gonna be a lot of change. I'm working on, reevaluating the brand, the tone of voice, reevaluating the feel of the show. Though we do have stuff that's jam packed, so just keep in mind that like all of September, I am booked. The one thing, the first change that I'd like to talk about is kind of like the frequency of when we go live and when I'm dropping episodes. So just know that like one lesson learned, folks. I left my booking with guests pretty open, but then I realized, wait, this is like a third, no, fourth job. I have several jobs, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But so it got a little crazy. So I'm only going to be going live, only be going doing Saturday mornings my time. I'm out in California, and so we're looking at one episode a week. Last season it turned into like sometimes like 3 episodes a week, and while I loved it, it was a little too much. So trying to look after myself in that regard. And so that's one piece there. Shout out to everybody that's on the chat. I do have a couple of friends up in the Insta chat. Welcome. And so the first thing we'll kind of talk about, and we kind of tease this, we did tease this earlier on in the week, maybe last week. And moving forward, I felt it was in my best interest and the interest of everybody that's involved in this project to not do it alone, right? And to not live in silos as we learn. And I said that in the classroom, and I continue to say that when I train teachers and educators. But I'm of the mind that, keep your friends close, but keep your best friends closer. And so we are in a place where Under the Hat is going to have two hosts. We're going to have a co-host, and I did tease that, again about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and give it the drum roll. I should have had a drum roll sound of some sort, and so if we're all ready, we're going to do a 3, 2, 1. Our co-host for Under the Hat moving forward is going to be Sophie Youngs. Yes. So Sophie Youngs will be with me for better or for worse. And hold on, let me do something really quick because I don't like this background. So we're gonna keep things super casual here on this show. There we go. It's above our heads now. So I'm super excited. But Sophie, thanks for being a part of this and being a part of this project with me.
Hello. And of course, and true Steve nature, you didn't think this through with like the drum roll.
No. And so just so you all know, Sophie and I we both work for the same company, if you're not aware of that. And so you have the type A and the type B kind of personalities, right? And don't get me wrong, I still work hard. Hopefully Sophie can speak to that, or maybe not speak to that. But it's like Sophie is the super, like, I'm gonna prepare something months in advance. While me, I'm like, oh, I'm preparing in the middle of a session. But
For
it
the session you're presenting.
for
Yes.
the session I'm presenting, yeah. Uh, but it works well, right? How she does it works well, and I respect that, and how I do it works well. I think, hopefully. um, but yeah, so Sophie, what are you looking forward to? Like this is we do a lot of work together, at Cami, but uh, what are you looking forward to about the show? Maybe like you watching kind of on the other side this last season. What are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to the different topics and the learning and the connections that's going to be made over this. Um, expanding understanding of perspectives, not only of myself, but of you and our guests that we have in here. And um, I'm kind of really interested in flexing some design and marketing things, as we will talk about in a little bit when it comes to our new brand and logo. But I'm also excited about having a reason, even though this is a podcast and some of you might not see us, but that's why you should come and check us out on YouTube, because I did my makeup. A reason to get pretty and to feel like myself. Like I'm doing this for myself. Have dedicated one-on-one time with my bestie. Well, I mean, today is one-on-one time. But yeah, so this is not about work. This is about a shared passion, a shared camaraderie, and having a good time.
Yeah, I I have found that this show is therapeutic for me personally. Like I just came across that realization last season. Um, and it is important that like we get wrapped up into like what our work is, but then there's also fun work, right? And I think that's super valuable. It's super important. If you moving forward too, for those that are in the chat that are watching, listening, please, like when you see us, please retweet, repost on Instagram. Give us that love. Something that I'm really gonna ask of everyone that's listening, because I know that so just context, we get a good amount of people that are viewing live, which is fantastic, but even more that watch it afterwards on the normal suspects like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, stuff like that. And just as a reminder, the website's still live. And so that's where you get all the links, right? Whatever podcast platform, whatever social media platform that you want to be on. But underhatpod.com, that is where you can get all of it. And really, like if you love the content, if you want the show to continue, um, please those drop in that feedback, right? If you can give the show a review, would super love that. And so that helps us measure how we're doing, what we're doing, and who we're doing it for. With respect to the authors, the consultants, the influencers that frequent the show. So just a reminder about that. But moving forward, so part of why I wanted to do this with someone else, with a partner, with a friend, right? Is really firstly, I guess, to put me in my place because Sophie does that on a regular basis. But also, this concept of like, I don't have it all, right? Like and Sophie, I will say that from a marketing, from a graphic design standpoint, just seeing you grow has been really cool. So what I'd like to do, and Sophie, maybe you can talk about it once we share it. What I'd like to do is kind of just talk about kind of like what's going to be different. So here's some like mock-ups. I'm really keen to what you see on the far left here, right? And so it's not just going to be, how do I say this? Like a dude hat. So Sophie added her flair to it. So yeah, so Sophie, talk about it. Like I really loved what you did here.
Okay, so for those of you who are listening, I'm going to try and paint you a word picture here. So in the old brand of Under the Hat, it was like a trucker hat kind of thing, like a baseball hat, I guess you can say. I saw your face, a baseball hat. With the flat bill, though, you weren't forming that. And so that was, and with like the loop-de-loo arrow, which I love the loop-de-loo arrow. But if any of you know me, you know that I have started a little small collection of tiaras and crowns. And what I think Steve was missing on his show was just a little bit of sparkle, which is what I'm hoping to bring. Just a little bit of Sophie sparkle, a little bit of glam. And so we added in a little tiara silhouette in there. It's still Under the Hat podcast with the loop-de-loo arrow and pointing down to be like under the hat, but is now you got the hat with the bill and the tiara. And we've been playing around with these different shapes and symbols and smashing them together. And I've added my 2 cents on all capital letters. It's not as accessible, so we're gonna not do that. Anyways, we're going to add in a couple other like subtle color changes, like a tan instead of a white, and a change in the font, but just to make things a little bit more accessible and for everybody, because I'm very, very adamant about accessibility. Dude slides, Mantha. But yeah, so there's that. And while we were sort of talking about what the intro video and outro video could potentially be, Steve and I were talking about how Under the Hat and how the hat itself can be very, I can't think of the word, symbolic. That's very symbolic when it comes to teachers, right? So we're both teachers, we're both educators, we're both very passionate about education and making it better, and we can totally geek out about edu protocols and a million other different things, escape rooms, together because of our shared passions about that. But when you're a teacher, you really wear multiple hats. And so you're the nurse, you're the counselor, you're the teacher, you're the mom, you're the dad. And I can say for a fact that I've been called Mama Youngs before, and mom by accident, on purpose, and otherwise while I was in the classroom. And you do wear many hats, and some of them are very serious and some of them are not so serious. So we are going to have a little bit of spin on that. So if you do watch our show and see our new intro outro videos, not quite sure where they're going to land just yet, but when you do see those, that's sort of what it symbolizes. It symbolizes the teacher's role and all the different hats that they wear.
Yeah. And we also, so I have I guess, a draft of the first one. And so besides, so if you don't know this, I guess I can't call myself this anymore because I'm really not in this space, but I was a musician, right? So for those that are, that are familiar with the track on the show, that's something I actually wrote. And because copyright, like I can't just be, yeah, it can't be the Star Wars intro. You know what I mean?
Oh, that would be awesome. But yeah, I can't.
It would be, but I can't, so besides my contribution to the track itself, the rest of it was all Sophie. And let's go ahead and just give you a sneak peek here of what you'll probably be getting. Wait, am I the only one that when the chef hat comes on, I think of South Park? Like and then that's the first thought I had, Sophie, when you sent it to me. I was like, oh, South Park.
Of course you would.
Yeah. But yeah, folks, so that's a little bit about, where the show's headed. Again, I'm super thrilled to like not do this alone. And while the first season was a lot of fun, problem solving things. Like again, if you're listening, so shout out to Fonz, right?
Yay, fun.
My edtech life. Um, he was instrumental when like I first started like, you know, building all this. And I know I've said this before on the show, but I was like, I would get Fonz on the phone and be like, dude, how do you do this? Like, how do you like how are you building all this out? Because there's so many moving parts. It's not just like pressing a button and just record yourself, right? Um, I just applaud Fonz though, because doing this solo, it is a lot of work and there's a lot of energy if you want to do it right. Like a lot of energy you want to throw at it. And so I feel very fortunate, Sophie, to have you now on the show and not feeling like I am doing this solo. With that in mind, though, so as we kick things off, this is not going to be a full hour episode, I don't think. But we'll kind of stick to the format of what is top of mind. I know that. So context for everyone, like Sophie and I are working with educators in multiple different places, districts, states, sometimes countries, right? Um, and so seeing education from this side of it, even though it's that ed tech industry side, you do get like you have a different pulse on it. You're like, whoa, like looking now that I look at like, oh well, these other states outside of my own, outside of California, I'm like things are different, right? And how they operate is different, how they like their initiatives, their pain points. So I'm seeing like a wide range of things, and I will be a gentleman and ask Sophie to speak first. But like, so Sophie, during maybe like the summer, I know that you were actually at ISTE.
Mhm.
I was not. So like you have that context there. Um, what are you seeing right now? Like what is the good and the bad? What is top of mind for you?
I think top of mind for everybody is AI. Everybody. There are a lot of different policies out there and a lot of different levels of confidence when it comes to it and fear, but there aren't a whole lot of
Mm,
laws out yet to like how's this going to protect your kids. And I did see. I'm actually in West Virginia, for those of you who don't know. So we're literally on opposite ends of the country with completely different perspectives. Yes, that one, where it's country roads take me home. Yes, that one, that West Virginia. So, so that's where I am, and Steve gives me crap about that every once in a while, and then it's like a brother sister relationship we have, and it's hilarious. I get a crack out of it. Anyways, top of mind in education, I would say, is AI and has been AI for over a year now. And it just seems to be, it's really growing. There's a lot of different options out there. How are you going to use it? Is it safe? Are we protecting your students? Are you protecting your identity when you use it and your data? Sort of, yeah. Yeah, Mantha, AI, security, digital citizenship, that type of thing. Like you want your students to be responsible when they're on the internet. I remember teaching those lessons of how to be responsible, how to protect your password, how to not get yourself in trouble, where I literally had a sixth grader talking to me about how they were in a chat on Snapchat with a person. They had no clue who they were, where they were, who that like at all. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's a big no, don't do that in digital citizenship and protecting yourself. But then, how do you, with these little minds that are still developing, that are not developmentally ready in some cases, how do you help guide them in a safe place to utilize AI? How do you teach them to be extra safe when you're not there making those safety nets for them? And I mean, your brain's not fully developed until you're 25 years of age. These kids are far from it. So how are we doing that? How are we utilizing that in a way that is safe and is also going to last? Because some of these companies have popped up and now they're gone. What is going to happen later where something major change could happen, type of thing? So like, should you do a Bonds, I think, has even mentioned this on his podcast. Should you do a 3-year plan with something right now? Because what if they're
mm,
gone in a few years, like in less than a year? Like, what if something major changes and you aren't going to have them anymore? So, and that's something that's a little scary when it goes to investing in something, because you want that trust and security that it's going to be there in the long run, type of thing.
Yeah.
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 I used to feel that way when people very early on asked me like, "Hey, when's Cami doing AI?" As someone that worked for works for that company. And in my head, I was always just like, I'm kind of glad Cami has an AI component now, but back then it didn't. And I was like, I'm kind of glad that we're not like
Well, it's
just
extremely purposeful too. The AI that's built into Cami. It's not like a
right.
frivolous.
I guess where I was headed with that was like, um, if you were a tool that relies solely on AI, and no shade to any company that if that's what you are, that's great, that's cool. Like you're probably supporting your teachers, students, families in powerful ways. But because it's so new, it's like, what's the kind of what you're talking about, Sophie? Like, what's the longevity? Like, can it last the long haul? Um, and so I think that's a fair point. The other thing too that you kind of mentioned was like the grade level, the safety of it. That's something I've not put enough thought into. I don't think, because like I have the high school brain, me in adult ed, as well as working with pre-service teachers at my local university. Like that's just where my thoughts go, right? But I never really thought about like these choices that have to be made. Where like, to what degree is it appropriate or not appropriate to put AI in the hands of a first grader, right, or second grader, if that's even something a district is even considering, right? Um, my daughter Riley, I don't know if I don't know as a father if I would want her using like an AI tool right now, being a second grader. Um, I don't know. That's just an interesting thought. I don't know where the road is going to go with this either, right? Like, do we do we really? Because so a conversation I had with a friend of mine recently was around AI. And again, like no disrespect, like I have a lot of respect for these companies that are out there in this AI space.
Well, they're
But
really cool what they can do. Like they,
it
they
it
are.
is it is really cool. But normally what I see is, and maybe this is general feedback, I guess, for like the world, but like, and maybe it's how it's implemented. Maybe it's like how it's the training, like the PD, like I don't know, but like it just like when I see AI, generally speaking, in education, it's normally solving a logistical problem. I don't see it. It's really rare that I see something that is solving an instructional one. Like how to generate worksheets faster. I'm like, okay, cool. Like you're saving time, but it kind of goes back to like Sammer model, kind of like, is it just replacing paper? And in this context, is it just saving you time? What is it doing for the student outcome? I I guess is I guess what I'm not seeing, but maybe I'm not looking at the right things in the right way.
You're not looking at the right things.
Okay. And
Okay, so I'm a member of the EduGuardians, and there are some EduGuardians out there that are doing amazing things with their students in a safe way. I just saw that one of the founders of the EduGuardians group is
mm,
actually, she created a chat bot that was a study guide for for her students for the test that they were getting ready to do. So she built in the parameters and made it to where they were chat with this bot to answer questions and guide them
mm,
to the right answers while they were studying for their test that they were getting ready for. So it was just another way for them to have that extra support. So maybe she's a virtual teacher. So maybe she was in a break off group with some kids doing some review one-on-one time. And then they were able to actually chat with this bot to study and review for the test. So that's one way to do it. It's sort of like, instead of doing a Kahoot, you're going to do a chat bot. Instead of doing a quizzes, you're going to do a chat bot. Instead of it being a paper worksheet, you're going to do a chat bot, which does take it up that SAMR.
No, that's a really good point. And I did come across this concept last season with, I had so many on. Dan Jones. I think it was Dan Jones, who, by the way, Dan Jones is coming back this season. He's not
Good.
confirmed a date yet, because since his book has been published and it's been out, I've read it. PBL kind of, build. It's a great book. But so Dan Jones talked about that with one of the AI tools he uses with his middle school students. And he basically did, and if I'm remembering this correctly, like it's like a Dan Jones avatar that talks, and then the kids ask him questions. They
And
can
he
ask.
answers. Yes, so it's like a copy of him. Yes, I remember
Yeah.
that episode. Yeah.
I was like, wait, there's like a mini little Dan out there, like on the interwebs, like helping, okay. So I have come across that, and so I have to correct myself and readjust my memory. But yeah, no, that's great, right? And so whether it's general help or like faster, more timely, better feedback that maybe has like rails, like, but also like, can it be like? Because my question is like, can it be standard aligned too, where it knows that these are the learning targets that need to be achieved. Like there's like all these possibilities that you're right, that can be impactful.
But then my question to that is, AI is there to like help you save time and whatnot, but how much time do you need to put into it for it to be built in such a way that it's actually good? Like, and you're going to use it again and again, and it's really accurate, and it's telling you and speaking in the words that the students are going to be hearing and using in the classroom, type of thing. Because I was, when I was an instructional tech coach, I was deep diving into our tests, our pre-tests, our practice tests, and the science one, and specifically was using language and vocabulary that was at least 3 grade levels above the grade that they were assessing. That was not in their textbook, that was not in their standards, but the assessment was that way. That's where like whoever was building the test wasn't actually. Anyways, you know what I mean? So this company was doing the curriculum, and this company was doing the assessment, and they weren't talking to each other, type of thing. So it was one of those things where I'm like, those vocabulary words they don't know them because it was not in the curriculum. And so if you're going to be building these bots, is it going to be using the same words that you're using in class? Is it going to be using the same examples that you would be using in class? When you try to paint a word picture for students, is it going to do as good as you? The answer is not yet, but it is something better than nothing. There's some show that you and I both watch. Like, half a loaf is better than none is the quote that they say in that show. I don't remember which one it is now, but half a loaf is better than none, and they're going to take it. Actually, I think it was a book, and you don't read it yet, but you should.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, I'm gonna pick something not AI, just
because that's everybody's topic.
Yeah. Something I've noticed, and Sophie, I don't know if you're feeling this with the states that you support or even your own state. Right now, like at the district levels, at the state levels with education, like money's tight. And so I'm seeing this common thread of like, cool, we need to save our subscriptions that we have. Like the top 4 or 5, tech tools that they have at the district level. They're like, these are ones that we have to have, right? Maybe an LMS is one of them, right? If they're paying for like a Canvas or something. But in the process, I'm seeing a lot of like leadership positions or instructional coach positions that look after the implementation of these tools go away.
Yep.
And we talked, so with somebody, forget now, somebody that was on the show last season, like we were having that conversation. And at the time I was like, yeah, I'm starting to see it. But now like over the summer, I saw more of it. Like there's like a
Yes.
higher volume of just like, cool. We had to move like 3 or 4 of our ed tech coaches back into the classroom. Well, that's really good for those 20, 30 students, or maybe 80 students, like if it's a high school, right? Or 100 something students. That's really
100%.
good for those kids because like those are the people that like, oh, cool. Like they have the brain to infuse tech in meaningful ways normally. And so it's good for like that small population. But then I just think about like, okay, you have these tools in your app portal, but who's going to be looking after the implementation of it though?
Who's gonna
Um,
be helping the other teachers that don't know quite how to use it yet?
or okay, so this is what I've come across too is like they move them back into the classroom, but still give them like coach kind of responsibilities with no
Mhm.
extra pay, right? Like it's kind of like okay, or maybe there's a small stipend, and so then it becomes an issue of like, oh, cool, so you're taking advantage of this situation, right? And I get like money's tight, but to me, I'm like, there's probably not a really great solution um, for a lot of these places that they have to be really strategic with their funds. But that is something that has been top of mind in terms of like how I support these schools and these districts.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Even my own district that I left to come work for our company, Cami, because I was a coach, we had 4 of us at the secondary level, now they have 2.
Mm,
Um, and they had to fight for the second position of that. And then the elementary coaches are even fewer than what they were when I was there. And then I've seen contacts that from my states that I support that are no longer in that position and no one's going to replace them. So somebody else at the district is going to take over being the main contact for this ed tech tool because that person is now being forced to go back into the classroom. Um, which if you don't have anybody teaching the teachers how to use the tech, then that computer is just a brick in their room. That tablet is just another decoration. And it's not it's not going to do they're not going to do anything with it because they don't have someone dedicated to help them use it. But moving that coach back into the classroom is doing 2 things. One, they're not having to pay for that coach, and they're filling a space that they didn't have anybody to fill. So, I mean, I get it. I do. It seems that not a whole lot of people want to be teachers anymore. I can't imagine why, but uh, but yeah. So it's an okay strategy right now. It solves the problem immediately, but down the long haul, it's going to actually cause a lot of wasted money because you're now buying tools that no
mm,
one is teaching them how to use, so they're not going to use them.
yeah, yeah, and that's um, that sort of thing is cyclical too. Like we'll see how things go um, over the course of time. However, I did promise that this would not be a full hour episode.
See, and I
But
could talk forever and ever about
yeah,
everything.
uh, everything. And so we're here we're about 30 minutes in. Again, this season, to my measure, based on like people that are wanting to be on the show, future guests, um, it's gonna be jam packed, and so to kick off next week, so it's gonna be every Saturday morning for me, not morning for Sophie.
Not morning
Um,
for me, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah. Sophie is not a morning person. No,
No, she's not.
but we have next Saturday. So the month of September is jam packed, folks. Like we have every single Saturday we have a guest, and still
Steve, did
just
you know it's my birthday month?
oh, it is.
Yes.
I'm a terrible friend.
You are a terrible friend.
Wait.
It
The
is
world
my
needs
birthday.
to
Tomorrow starts my birthday month. I'm super excited.
Wait, what's the day? What's the date?
The 10th.
The 10th. I did low key know that we were both fall babies though, because
Ish.
I'm in October. I'm basically a Halloween baby.
October's my favorite month. I will say this, even though it's not like I'm not technically no, is it fall now? Did we have the first day of fall already?
No, that's why I said like fall-ish. Like I don't
Ish.
think
No,
it's
it's not.
fall.
It's close to my other friend's birthday, not my mom's birthday. Okay, so at the end of September-ish is when fall happens. However, in West Virginia, without a doubt, for the 30-some years that I have been on this earth, that fall snap happens right before my birthday. Every time.
Hopefully that's still the case. Weather's different now than it used to be.
It is. It's been really, really hot, like 90s, 100s this week.
Oh yeah.
But I think we're gonna maybe have one more week of hotter temperatures, and then the week of my birthday, it's gonna get cold, like chilly.
Okay, so for work reasons, last weekend I was up north of me, the state of Washington, in that area. The hottest was like 70 degrees. I'm like, oh, I could live here. Like they're like, oh yeah, and you just missed some nice rain, which I guess for them it's not always nice because it rains so often. But I was like, I came back home because I did like a little tour. Sophie knows this, but I did like San Diego, up north, same weekend ish. And I came back
It was
home.
like 5 days. You were gallivanting for like 5 days or something.
It was a good gallivant. Yes. That's something that's how we put it. When Steve's out in the streets, he's gallivanting. But yeah, it was a good little gallivant. But then when I came back, if there's only a few people in the chat that are from the Central Valley of California, it can get grossly hot. I won't share names, but shout out, there is a former student of mine in the Insta chat. Yes. So he knows quite well how hot it gets. But yes, so that was my little gallivant, so my weather tangent. But as we wrap up the show here, and wrap up this episode,
guests are from my ish neck of the woods on this side of the country.
Are they from over there?
They're from over here, yeah.
Like, no, when you say over here, like that half of the country, or like more regionalized? Like, are they
like in the region near me? Yes. Like,
okay.
I think 6 hours I can get to them.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I feel like I may have learned that at some point.
You probably were only half listening when I was on their podcast.
Maybe. I get shade all the time from Sophie, be like, Steve, you're half listening to me or half reading. That apparently that's a thing too, that we came across the other day. My family says the same thing. They're like, yes,
it's
Dad was half listening. It's dude listening. There's dude slides, dude listening. Yeah, at this point, it's best to own it. But so, okay, folks, so next week, there's gonna be 4 of us on this screen. Super excited. So they are fellow podcasters themselves. I don't know if the internet is ready for this conversation, because so I've been on their show. Sophie's been on their show in isolation. I was in the same episode, right? And I believe I ended up connecting you, Sophie, with them like after I was on. And really, really great humans. Their passion for not just technology but for education is just phenomenal. But Sophie and I both learned, being on their show, there's a lot of common interests. So hopefully we stick on topic to education. So I shared with them like my passion for Star Wars. They love Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Ted Lasso, which I do have a Ted Lasso watch band. I may wear that next weekend. But so Sophie, I kind of let you kind of talk about this a little bit, but these guys.
We're going to be talking about anti-unproductive tech.
That
With
was Sophie's title, not mine. Just
yeah, if you guys know us, you know that's a lie. I'm like, dude, you didn't put this in Gemini at all. Anti-unproductive tech, which I love. I love a good procedure. I love these are the steps of how you're going to do it, and it's really productive, and it's always going to work. Making sure all the check marks are done. Yes, that is a me thing. Steve's like, what checklist? And Will and Josh from the High Tech Pod are going to be joining us next week, just days before my birthday, at the same time as we started today, 10 a.m. Pacific, and 1 p.m. Eastern. Super excited to chat with them. We are all geeks and nerds and love a lot of the same things. And I'm super excited to chat with them again.
yeah. Yeah. And they're just super keen to like hear the perspectives. Like if by the way, like if High Tech Podcast, if you're an educator, go check out that show. Like they have great content. They just did a rebrand themselves. And I'm not saying this because I was on their show. Like, don't even listen to my episode. You may not get anything out of it. It was a big ramble, but like you know, they do have great folks on. They're doing tremendous work, and they have just like a depth of passion and knowledge with respect to what is happening now in education. So
my episode with them was actually really good. It was about digital escape rooms. So I suggest you do actually do it.
that was a good one though.
It was a good one.
The escape room.
Steve, weren't you on there twice?
Yeah. So so here's what happened. They did like a special run of maybe it was just a season or part of their season where they essentially they themed it around the show Ted Lasso. If you're a fan of that, which I love that show. I just love it. It was one of those rare instances that my wife and I could like watch a show together. Because normally like our child is just around, like we can't watch like an adult show, right? But we were able to squeeze that one in. So like my wife and I have the passion of, together of Ted Lasso. So what they did is they took like I believe they took like a character of Ted Lasso per episode and had a guest, which unfortunately for the world was me out for one of them, of breaking down a character, but like they aligned it to teaching, to like what was the thought process, what maybe led to this person behaving in this way. I was they had me on for one of the, I don't know, villains of the show, or not one of the not nice guys who ends up being a nice guy, I think, at the end. And so they're like, who's evil that we can bring on? Oh, Steve can cover this character. Yes.
It was actually a really great episode. I enjoyed it, and how I felt it quite ironic how Steve kept bringing it back to topic about education, and how it was really insightful, the things that you were saying about how that character symbolized so much more than what it appeared to be. So it was great. So go check out the High Tech Podcast. But the next week we are going to have them here.
Yes. No, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. The conversation may get ridiculous, so just be prepared for that. But friends, we're almost at 45 minutes here. I do apologize. And I even promised Sophie, I'm like, oh, it's only 30 minutes. It'll be super fast. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And
Audible
so
eye roll.
I know. Be sure to give us a follow. Be sure to, continue to support to the website. And, just I'm thrilled to be back. We're thrilled to have Sophie. And, I think doing it Saturday will be fun because I don't have any like work responsibilities normally on Saturdays. And so this will be a good like coffee kind of therapeutic little event that I do weekly. But yeah, folks, continue to drop in that support. And we're going to end this with our new video made by Sophie. So we did drop it earlier. And just again, thank you all for tuning in, for listening. This episode will drop into the Spotify's and the Apples and all of those other places at some point today. And next week, when we talk about being productive. Yes, like we're going to talk about being
Anti-unproductive.
anti-unproductiveness.
Oh,
I know it's probably not a good title, but you know what? It's my show. I do what I want. All right, friends. All right. So, just again, big thank you. And while, you are going through this back to school season, please stay sane. Please take care of yourselves. Stay hydrated. Do all the dude things. And I just saw Margie's comment.
Yes,
dude titles.
Dude title.
Yes. Dude titles. I'm like, let's see how creative I can get. Just that much. Just that much.
I'll be sure to add a little bit of sparkle next time.
Yes. Awesome. And I used to say keep your hats on but your mind open, but now we're like there's like a spectrum of headgear.
Yes.
Yeah. So while you keep your gear on, folks, please keep your minds open. We're super pumped to be here with you all. Give us that love. Drop in a good review, and we'll catch you next Saturday. You all enjoy your Saturday. Hopefully it's a sunny one. Take care. Love you all.